Have you seen recently a map of modern Jerusalem? What Mark Twain saw was the old city. In our book, immediately after the excerpts from Mark Twain, some maps of Jerusalem. What he saw, the old city, there's just a little blue circle over here in the middle of the map. This is all Jerusalem today. Here you see the expanded boundaries. And when you get a picture of the larger metropolitan area, the old city isn't a circle anymore, it's a dot. Jerusalem has grown by leaps and bounds. These are prophetic times. Just consider two passages from the Bible that I think are just so apropos here. One that Mark Twain himself cites, Leviticus chapter 26, verse 32. And I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies that dwell therein shall be astonished at it. And Mark Twain, understandably, sees these words as manifest in the curse of the Holy Land that he witnesses. But in our tradition, we see these words a little bit differently. Of course, these words in Leviticus chapter 26 are all part of the solemn warning of dire consequences. But in the context of those warnings, verse 32 is actually a consolation. Your enemies will be astonished at the extent of the devastation that you will experience, because the land of Israel will never bring forth its bounty to anyone but its children. Mark Twain saw a land in desolation. Its children were only beginning to come back home. And as a result, the land that he saw was a land of dismal desolation. We see what 152 years can do when God's promises are being fulfilled before our eyes. And maybe in particular with respect to Jerusalem, I feel compelled to share with you the words of Zechariah chapter 2. Now, what Zechariah is describing is something that seems almost incomprehensible, because he sees a vision of two angels. Now, an angel is a representation of God's mission. So how can these two angels be a contradiction of one another? I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. Then I said, "Where are you going?" And he said to me, "To measure Jerusalem, to see what is the breadth thereof, and what is the length thereof." And behold, the angel that spoke with me went forth, and another angel went out to meet him, and said to him, "Run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem shall be inhabited without walls, for the multitude of men and cattle therein. For I, says the Lord, will be unto her a wall of fire round about, and I will be the glory in the midst of her." Now, I'm trying to wrap my mind around what people made of these words of Zechariah for the 2.5 millennia after he wrote them. Because Jerusalem was always in just one of two states. Either it had a wall, or it didn't have a wall because it was in ruins. And we can very well understand then that first angel who was measuring Jerusalem to keep it walled and safe. But then there's another angel, and it's not a prophecy of destruction. On the contrary, it is an even greater consolation. Jerusalem will burst through its walls. It won't be contained by walls anymore because of the multitude of people and cattle within it. How did people understand these words until 1860, when Jerusalem, for the first time, started bursting through its walls? Mark Twain can be readily forgiven for not being aware of that. He came in 1867. The new city was only in its birth pangs. And the truth of the matter is, the first neighborhood, Mishkenot Sha'ananim, where Montefiore's windmill stands to this day, wasn't exactly something to make a big impression on people. You know, with all of the overcrowding in the old city, I always like to ask people, how much do you think people had to pay in order to move to Mishkenot Sha'ananim? The answer, they had to be paid. No one wanted to leave the old city. And when they left, it was only on condition that they could scurry back within the walls every evening before the walls and their gates were bolted shut. The land was in desolation. The whole countryside a prowl with bandits and highwaymen. A land in desolation is a very dangerous place to be. We look around today. Can we even imagine? The land is blossoming once again.